Welcome to the KH965I. We're getting started, pages 1 to 9. Okay, so we are going to play with a KH965I. I have a instruction book here. We're going to go through all the pages. It's 88 pages if you include the front and the back. With this machine there is, oh my goodness, Stitch World pattern book number 2, and then a pattern book with no English, or very little English. Not quite sure which belongs to which, but we will figure it out. I'm sure it will mention which book I'm supposed to look at. So we'll get started with page 1. Alright, so table of contents. How to use your knitting machine, knitting, pattern programming, cartridge, I don't have one right now, pattern knitting, shaping the neckline, and useful hints. Then it goes into replacing needles, cleaning and maintenance, and how to use the alphabet. Sounds pretty easy. When I took off the lid, this was not even connected to anything, so I'll have to source one of these locks. Sinker plate assembly, tensioning, I used the other one, not too worried about that. Says here to raise the yarn guide, put in your edge supports, and turning on the power switch. Pretty easy. Replacing your machine wants you to make sure that you unplug your AC adapter and make sure your machine is turned off. Make sure your lace carriage is locked in. Make sure your cast-on combs are safely inside the little lid. Make sure that your edge supports for the garter carriage or the lace are in the right direction. It even shows you how to put your tension mast back in the lid and lock in the sinker plate. It says to make sure that you push all needles back to A position, fold down the handle on the K carriage, insert the carriage lock into the hole on the left side of the machine, and lock that baby in. You want to unscrew the table clamps and make sure you put them back in the toolbox. Hold the lid and replace as shown. When it's in place, lock the 2 latches. You'll see how that works. So now we have part's name. Well, this part is called the machine. I'm going to make sure that you can actually see the whole machine in the video. 1 second, please. Okay, so now you can see the whole machine. Turn mark. Turn mark. You must move the K carriage past the turn mark left or right to select needles for the first row of pattern knitting. Doesn't matter which side. This is your accessory box. This is your accessory stand. That's where your tools go. Your yarn tension holes right beside the toolbox. This is your row counter. This is your operational panel. Of course, I already did the turn mark. We have your needle positions, A, B, D, E. This is your rear rail. This is needle position indicator. These are gate pegs. This is your needle bed. And these are your needles. It goes into the names of the parts of the needle. So shank, butt, stem, latch, and hook. In this little box here, You have an 8-pin port. You also have a carriage slot. Don't lose that lid. Now we'll talk about the K carriage. Mine already has my DAC adapter on it and is attached to the knit leader tripper. We then have the row counter tripper, which you can turn on or off. On or off. This is the cam release lever. This is the holding cam lever. So you have normal knitting, hold, and if you push this in Tarsha. Hang on. I think I need to do one little thing here. Take off the sinker plate. Push in that, and it goes into Tarsha. I don't think I actually had to remove the sinker plate though. I think I just needed to do better. Yeah, I just needed to push it in. We're good. No worries. Alright, so let's take it out of Tarsha. Okay, change knob. So, change knob. CR. Carriage release. KC2 means no end needle selection. KC1, end needle selection. And NL means normal knitting. So we leave it in normal knitting. This is your tension dial. Now, as for why mine looks a little weird, I haven't figured that out. Which I should. What is underneath here? Well, for some reason, the former owner stuck that down with some goop. Goop. Which is silly. So I'm going to pause this video, remove this goop, and then replace this dial thingy properly. Because there are times when you actually need to access this part. Gross. Gross. Welcome to the wonderful world of used equipment. Okay, well, that was gross. Let's keep talking. So we went with the change knob, tension dial. The tension dial is all fixed now. This is your sinker plate. These are your tuck and weaving brushes. This is your yarn feeder. There's an A and a B. These are your cam buttons. Oh, that's gonna need some grease. Okay, we'll get that greased here in a minute. I already went over the Tarsha button and the holding cam. Okay, this is your handle. Just gonna release the buttons. I'm going to give this a quick grease or oiling just to make sure that these two buttons do not stick for the rest of this series. Okay, that was page 3 of 86. Okay, that was page 3. Okay. So, page 4. So, Stitch World 1, Stitch World 2, and design sheets were supposed to come with it. So, I do have a copy of Stitch World 1 for myself. Stitch World 2. And the design sheets, long gone. Yes, I have a yarn tension unit. It has just been put off to the side for now. The cast on comb, that's in the lid. The end thingamajigs are, well, I put them off to the side again. Yes, it came with a lace carriage. It did not come with a crochet hook. I think I found all the tools. Table clamps, no oil, plating feeder's missing, yarn wax is missing, hand brush is missing. The AC adapter was with it. No carriage lock, no claw weights, no extra needles, no tapestry needle, no cast on thread, and no needle pusher. I managed to find all of those in different sources. Thank you, Troy. Okay, so that was page 4. Page 5 talks about the yarn tension unit and how to thread the yarn. I'm currently using a different tension unit, so I will grab one and we can discuss how to thread the unit. Okay. So it's pretty easy to put the yarn in the rear yarn guide, and then you bring it up and you put it in the discs. So let me grab some yarn here. Just put this down for a second. Stay there. Okay. Piece of yarn. So you come up from the yarn guide, go in behind here, pull it in, and around there. That goes up there. Okay, sounds pretty simple, but let's take a look at it above. So inside here is a little foot that you have to get past. I'm not sure if you can see that little foot. If you're not in that foot, you're not actually in the tension unit. So you get past the foot, you're in the yarn guide, you're in this part, and then you fold the antenna down and it goes in the, this is so awkward. Alright, stay there, my little buddy. Okay, so you have to get it into the hole for the antenna. Because it has no tension on it, it's pretty naughty. Alright, and as you knit left to right, the take-up spring here, this thing, takes up the slack so that you don't get the yarn loops on the end, which is why you go slow. It's not a race. You're not a prison guard, you're a tour guide. Remember that. And that is how to thread. Now, if you have yarn wax, you might be lucky and you have the original. I do not. I do have some other stuff. Yarn wax goes in there, like that. And the yarn goes underneath it and into there. Pretty easy. Okay, adjusting the tensions. So this one is set at negative, but normally you have it set arrow to arrow. Say arrow to arrow. There's also a yarn break. Okay, hang on. We're gonna just put this back down. So the part that goes into the mast stick gets pushed in first, up to the wax holder, and then the other parts lock in. When you go to unfold it, it's mast on first, antennas up last. If you try and move the antennas before, it won't work. These have to be unlocked, and it's quite a cool little system. So there that is. I'm going to put this away now, carefully, and we'll come back to page 6. Okay, page 6. Let's read. How to thread contrast yarn. Basically, you do it the same way as the original yarn, but you have to go into the little take-up spring. And you also use the take-up spring for thread lace. So thread the contrast yarn into the left tension unit, including the sub take-up spring. That's that little one that sticks out was in the way all the time. For thread lace, thread the very fine contrast yarn into the left yarn tension unit. Thread the main yarn into the sub take-up spring. Turn the tension disc both right and left to right. I can see why that's really confusing. So you are allowing the yarn 1 to be in the leftmost feeder, and yarn 2 comes in over the yarn wax holder, but then goes down into the sub feeder and then back up to the masthead part before it goes into the take-up spring. Pretty confusing, but it does work. And so yeah, multicolored tuck, skip stitch, weaving, plating, or plated. Yarn 1 is orange, yarn 2 goes into the secondary feeder. It does not say to use the take-up spring, but I do. When knitting weaving patterns, when the weaving yarn is rather bulky or the yarn is not feeding smoothly, adjust the tension disc and the K carriage tension dial to loosen the stitches. So plus means more tension, negative means looser. I know, confusing as crap. Preparing your yarn. If you're new to machine knitting, you are advised to start with new yarn. Choose one that is smooth and of reasonably good quality. Avoid hairy or harsh, poor quality yarns as they are difficult to knit. That just makes sense. Here it even shows coned yarn and balled yarn. These are suitable for use without rewinding. Pull the yarn from the center of the ball of yarn. Use the yarn from the outside of a cone, so you won't be able to ever grab from the center of the cone, just to be clear. Now if you have a ball of yarn or a skein of yarn, they should be rewound using a skein holder and a yarn winder. Rewinding the yarn, it actually shows a skein holder and a yarn winder. Now, one of the things that it says is to use the center pull method on the rewound ball. What I do is I actually use the outside, and I don't take my my ball off of the cone that mine comes in. I just take the cone off the cone winder and I use it like a yarn cone. I just find that easier, and then I don't have static buildup and I don't get this yarn pull. That's just a hint for me. Oh, we're going to talk about claw weights. So, page 7, claw weights. These are used to help your knitting hang properly to prevent these things. To prevent it from lifting up while you work. Trust me, it's a thing that happens. Hang claw weights on your cast-on comb. If the edges of your knitting do not lie smoothly, hang claw weights on both edges of the actual knitting. So even though your machine comes with 2, get more. You won't regret having 5 or more. Some cast-on combs have a little slider where you can attach them together, and some of them don't. I rarely ever have access to the ones that slide together. That's just the way it goes. If you do have the ones that slide together, that means you have full length in 2 pieces, and don't lose that piece. Keep it on one of the cast-on combs, because they go missing the most. Now, it wants to talk about the machine and the needle positions. So I will move my book here, and I will move the camera. Okay, so the needle positions are: A, Non-working position. This is B. Working position, used for general knitting purposes. D. In line with D. Upper working position. Selected needles are brought to this position in pattern knitting by the K or L carriages. That makes sense. And then E, all the way forward. Holding position. Needles in this position do not knit when the holding cam lever is set to H. Used for shaping, etc., neckline, shoulders, and darts. There's a little clover on this manual. It says, when you pack your machine away, always return the needles to A position. Okay. Oh, next it wants to discuss the row counter. So let's move our claw weights and the camera, and we'll talk about the row counter. Row counter. The row counter shows the number of rows that have been knitted with the K carriage. When you want to set the number back to 000 again, turn the knobs in the direction of the arrows. So there's little arrows, right? 0, 0, and then that one goes backwards. See? Pretty easy. Row counter tripper. That's this thing right here. And this thing right here. When using the row counter, do not forget to set the tripper into working position. So, non-working, working. Piece of cake. Alright, so now we're going to talk about the K carriage. This dial graduated from 1 to 10, each space being subdivided into 3 parts. With this dial, you can alter the size and tension of your stitches. 0 is the tightest, also known as the smallest stitch, and 10 is the loosest tension, or the largest stitch. You should adjust the dial to a higher or lower number according to the thickness and type of yarn you are using. Now, this book does go into your recommended tensions for the yarn. So, very fine, 0 to 3, fine, 3 to 5, medium, 4 to 6, thick or double knit, 7 to 10, and thicker double knits, 4 to 6. If you're in North America, this does not mean medium yarn number 4. Medium yarn European, 3 to 4 ply. You cannot use North American medium yarn in your machine. Please don't. Don't ask. We will tell you. Do not do that, please. You have to use the thinner yarns. This is Bramwell 4 ply from Europe. Okay? It is not the multiply from Canada. Don't do it. Let me see if I have the example of bulky yarn for you. Okay, this is North American 4 ply. This is 4 ply from Bramwell. Do you see the difference? No, you cannot use this yarn on this machine. If you insist on using medium weight, bulky, or super bulky yarn, please get a different machine. You will not be happy. This is the thick yarn that they're talking about. That's it. Not very thick. Please don't do what you think you're doing. You will not be happy. Anyway, rant over. As there are so many different types of yarn, it is impossible for us to tell you which tension dial number you should use. You must decide for yourself. This is why we do tension swatches. Working sample swatches. Use this information as a rough guide only. For very thick or bulky yarns, please don't ever do this. Use every other needle. You cannot pattern on every other needle. So please don't do this. Please get a proper machine for the yarn you are trying to use. Rant over. Honest. Okay. Cam buttons. This is the cam. These are the cam buttons. Tuck. Part. Also intarsia. MC. L. Now, this L does not stand for lace. This is for thread lace, which is another method of two-color knitting or two-thread knitting. This is not lace. This is thread lace. Rant over. What you just saw is that I pressed the cam release lever, and you could actually push all of these, and it will release it. That's how that goes. Another way for these to be released is to go from KC1 down to normal knitting. Even KC2. Push them in, it will release it. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Now, we did briefly discuss the holding cam lever. So right now it's in hold. This is normal. Pushing this little button here and it'll go to intarsia. Yes, you have an intarsia feature. Very awesome. Back to normal. Weaving pattern levers. They both say, oh, let me move my camera. They both say WT. Okay, this is normal. WT, normal, WT. W stands for weaving. T stands for tuck. When you are weaving or tuck, these brushes need to be engaged. When you are normal knitting, leave them in N, please. Do not knit normally with the weaving knobs down. You will wear them out prematurely and you will destroy your yarns. I hope that makes sense. Oh, we are now going to actually discuss the change knob. 1 second. All right, we are now at the change knob. NL, stocking stitch, lace patterns, intarsia. In other words, normal knitting. N is for normal. KC1. This setting is used for pattern knitting such as tuck, skip, weaving, ferrule, thread lace, etc. During pattern knitting, the needles are automatically set to B position and D position according to the pattern. KC1 specifically, and needles are brought to D position every row, disregarding the pattern data, which means it will always knit forward. KC2, and needles are selected to B or D position according to the pattern data. Makes sense? See the pattern knitting on pages 47 and 65 respectively when setting the change knob to KC1 or KC2. 47 to 65. CR. Pretty straightforward. Carriage release. This setting is used to release the K carriage from the needle bed. Do not try and knit in CR. You will have a bad day. The cam buttons are automatically released when you change the knob from KC to NL. That is a safety feature. That is the end of page 9. Okay, we're at the 30-minute mark. We will continue with page 10 in the next video.